We have breaking news. A WWE superstar is gone from the company, and we're going to talk about it right here on the Ango Show. And as always, if you guys want more videos like this, don't forget to click that subscribe button and ring that bell. This way I can keep you guys up to date on everything that is happening in professional wrestling. Today, we are talking about a WWE superstar who is gone from the company, and that person is Andrade. Now, I have a lot to say about this, so please bear with me because I'm going to have some criticisms and I'm going to have some praises. Now, the first thing that you guys need to know is that we don't really know the real reason as to why Andrade has gone from the company. Was he released? Did he request to be released? What happened? We know he returned in 2024. A year later, he is gone from the company. Now, Andrade was originally in the WWE. He was part of NXT, got called up to the main roster, eventually left for AEW. He went to AEW, and his career there was also a failure. So there was rumors at the time that there was a bunch of WWE talent who went to AEW who were excited to go back to WWE, and then eventually they came back to WWE. We don't know if Andrade truly wanted out of AEW, and I don't think it's fair to make that assumption just because the IWC said so. However, we know that Andrade left the company, came back to the WWE, and things were looking good. Now, this is where people are going to maybe disagree with me, but I don't feel every single time somebody comes to a company, they are immediately skyrocketed to the very top, right? What I personally often talk about is when a wrestler joins WWE or AEW, I just want to see them on TV, right? I understand that there are current plans in place for other people. So, Andrade coming back to WWE, how can you skyrocket him to the world title picture if maybe the plan is for Seth Rollins or LA Knight or Jey Uso or this person or that person might be in line for that push? I don't think it's fair to kind of change existing plans just because somebody joined the company. So I have always been under the belief if a WWE superstar goes to AEW or TNA or WWE, as long as they're on TV in some capacity, that's what matters. And then when the time is right, you can give them the push, right? Andrade, I feel like, was kind of in that similar situation where he came into WWE. There was already a lot of ongoing plans, and therefore you put him on TV and go ahead and do some stuff with him. We saw him get introduced as part of a tag team with Rey Fenix, which at first, initially, I wasn't too thrilled about. I wasn't too thrilled about it because at that point, I would rather have just seen the Lucha Bros reunite. However, with Andrade doing the tag team with Rey Fenix, they had some really sick matches and the chemistry was clearly there. So I very much enjoyed watching that. But then you start watching SmackDown on a weekly basis and there is nothing going on with Andrade. And it was very, very strange. It was super weird noticing that he was off of TV. Now, there was this thing about AEW, and AEW had kind of, AEW had Andrade, and he was on TV, then he was off of TV, then he was on TV, then he was off of TV for a long time. With WWE, for the most part, he was consistently on TV in some capacity. In some capacity. Once he was put into this tag team with Rey Fenix, then we stopped seeing them together. So Fightful then reaches out to see if there's any sort of injury reports or anything like that, and we don't have any confirmation that he's injured. Then today, he's gotten moved to the alumni section. So as you can imagine, this is a situation where everybody's kind of like scratching their head because we don't genuinely know the reason why he's gone from the company. And the IWC likes to really do this thing where they kind of assume that there's issues or creative differences or whatever it may be. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair to make assumptions as to why people are leaving companies because just in general, there's a lot of factors, especially for Andrade. I mean, he moved from Mexico to the US and obviously like that's a big deal. You know, there's a lot of things going on. WWE had Andrade in the company. Obviously, he came from CMLL. I don't know how he felt about working for AAA or how that whole thing went down with WWE buying AAA, but it's not our job to assume what could be the reason why he's gone. I want to wait for the facts. But that's what makes this so tricky is because it doesn't really seem like there's any reasonable thing that I could think of. Honestly, I don't think there's anything reasonable I could think of. Like, if you're joining the company, you're not going to be pushed to the very top just yet. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like that's the thing. I really don't know. And then you got to really think about the future and what that means for the future. And obviously, we have to see what all the details are with Andrade leaving WWE. But I don't think he would go back to AEW. And I don't know if AEW really needs Andrade. They've had him contracted and didn't do much with him either. And this is where my disappointment is. This is where my criticism towards Triple H is. You brought in Andrade. He's a great talent. You let him do the tag team stuff, and then you take him off television. Was it really beneficial to you as a company to do that? The reason why I say that is because if you look at the US title picture on SmackDown, Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, that's great. But you have Aleister Black there. You have Andrade. You have some killers that can wrestle really well. Why haven't we seen a situation where that US title picture is beefed up and we're just getting banger matches? Now Sami Zayn has won the US championship and he's doing the open challenges and we got an amazing match with Sami Zayn. Why isn't Andrade part of that mix? Or especially on Raw for a minute, it's like that tag mid that mid card, upper mid card has been booming. You couldn't find a way to utilize Andrade in that situation. That's where my criticism comes in. You don't need to put the guy to the top of the card, but like you have some really, really, really good wrestlers on your roster. Why not just let them go out there for 15, 20 minutes and just have a really good match? Wins and losses don't matter in wrestling. You could justify the wins, you could justify the losses, but why not do more with what you have? That's my criticism there. And then I also look at NXT. And I don't know if Andrade would have ever agreed to go to NXT, but NXT is a great show and they're doing stuff with TNA. Why not have Andrade go down there and work with some of these young guys? He can go have a banger match with Wesley or with Javon Evans or Ethan Page. Like, there's things that you could do down there. And then the cool thing is, like, when the time is ready for you to be back on the main roster, you can do that again. The NXT main event picture was kind of boring for a while, and I still feel like it has a little bit of work to do. So I'm kind of all over the place with this, and I try not to be, but there is a little bit of frustration here. I feel like WWE could have made it work. I need to know more details before I start pointing fingers, but when you look at his most recent run, it's like, dude, you were putting him on TV. So what happened? you know? And I think that's where maybe I'm a little bit more bothered, a little bit more upset, maybe a little bit more triggered by it because it's like, dude, you're doing good stuff with Aleister Black. You're doing good stuff with certain people. Andrade's a quality talent. What went wrong there? Anyways, guys, he's gone from the company. If we learn more details, I'll keep you updated. Thanks for watching. Peace.